soon as I find it. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 236. And I've got a great guest today. All my guests are great. I've been so lucky to have so many greats on. And this is another one that I recently met at a conference with my good friend Grant Wise. It's Keith Pike. Keith, you are from Little Rock, Arkansas. Is that right?
I am. I am.
That's great. And you're an attorney, you're a broker owner. You have mortgage company, insurance company. You got all kinds of stuff. That's just I want to talk about your story and how you got there. But before we get
Okay.
going, we got to do a little quick intro, and here it is. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. All right, good morning. This is, as I said, Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 236, and we've got Keith Pike with us. Hey, Keith, before we get going, I do a better introduction than I just did. What does TGIF stand for?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you. Yeah, you've got. That's a
Oh.
question I ask everybody to start the broadcast.
Thank God it's Friday.
You are so close.
Uh-huh.
Everybody gets close, but no, thank God it's finale. I mean,
Oh.
what else could it be, Keith? I mean, come
Right?
on.
I love it.
We have a lot of the same friends, so I'm kind of nuts. So anyway, so you're in Little Rock, Arkansas. You're an attorney. You've worked in different places. If you would, could you please tell us your journey from when you got to be all these things? And I know there's an order you came in, for someone, to be, the recruiter of the year and all this other things. I mean, there's a place where you started. And what I like about that question, which I start every broadcast with, is people need to see that they can go anywhere starting from nowhere, which is where most people start. So if you just give us a nice summary of your journey.
I like when people ask this because people see like how large all my companies are today, all the accolades that they win. The recruiter of the year, the broker owner of the year for the United States, the broker owner of the year for the mortgage company for the United States. Each of the companies just on their own are each successful, right? So I don't have just like a lot of piecemealed companies that are together that are limping along. Like each of them in their own right are successful, and people see that and just kind of assume that it's always been that way, and really I didn't start from nowhere. I started like with less than nothing and had to crawl my way out of hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And it really kind of I was started on a journey when I was in college and got sidetracked for a little bit and got back on the journey. And that's what I'm currently doing today. So in college, I was going to church, and the guy I went to church with was like, "Hey, would you like to build houses with me?" And so I started doing that. And then, we were hiring real estate agents to list the houses. And then I was like, you know what, I'll become a real estate agent and I'll be able to list the houses. So I did that. And in the meantime, I was still going to school. I was going to school to be a computer programmer. And I had no intention of pursuing construction or real estate as my career at that time. And I graduated, got a job being at Dillard's corporate headquarters. A lot of people don't know that, like, the Dillard's department store, their headquarters here in Little Rock, and the Dillard family still work there, and it's a great organization. And I went to be a computer programmer there. They have, at the time they had probably 500 programmers. I don't know what they have now, but they do all of their work in house, and loved the environment. I was really good at it. Went to school for it. Had the mind for it. Liked working in a corporate world, but my parents were entrepreneurs, and they worked for themselves. My grandparents owned a gas station and worked for themselves, and I think that it was just being an entrepreneur is in my blood. But I had some sort of like missing calling. I didn't know what it was at the time, to be honest. But something was missing while I was working at Dillard's. So while I was working there, I started, pursuing other things. So I was still a real estate agent, and I might have sold like one house a year, maybe.
Right.
But I went and I enrolled at a university that was about 30 minutes away, University of Central Arkansas, and got my master's in business. So I got an MBA. And then while I was doing that, I, I wanted to go to law school. So I enrolled in a different university for law school. It wasn't a concurrent program. They were two separate programs. I didn't get credit for, for either of them that I could apply to the other. So I had to complete those two, graduate programs simultaneously through two different universities while I was a computer programmer.
Wow, that's
And
a lot of work.
it was, but you know what? I liked it. And then when I graduated, I wasn't going to law school anymore. I wasn't getting my MBA anymore. And I resigned from Dillard's because I now was an attorney, and it was just seemed like the next logical step that I was going to go work for a law firm. And I went to work for a law firm. I think I was there for 4 or 5 years. Met 4 years at that law firm, and liked it. Learned so much. Was good at it, and then I resigned from that law firm, went and started my own law firm. The owner of the law firm was very understanding and supportive of it. We parted on very good terms. I've always departed everywhere on good terms. And the day that I started my law firm, I was unpacking my computer that I just bought at Best Buy, and a man named Brad Johnson walked into my office because the door was open and said, "Have you ever thought about buying a Remax?"
Just walks in and asks you to buy a Remax.
Yeah, and like my foot was on. I was like trying to get this big computer out of a box, and it was in there tight. So I have my foot like on the edge of, like, at the top of the box to hold the box down while I'm reaching down into it trying to get this. And that's at this moment that this man walks in, and I'm in this super awkward position. And then he's pitching me to, purchase a Remax. And I didn't really know anything about Remax at the time. I mean, I did know that there were there was other Remaxes here in Central Arkansas, and there were good agents there that sold a lot of real estate. But didn't know anything else about the company, really. It was a reputable company. And so took his business card and, put it in my pocket and walked him out the door. And he said if he could, if he comes back in 2 weeks, would I meet with him? And because he was in town from Kansas City, and I said, sure. And I was going to when he left, I was going to take his card out of my pocket and block him on my phone. And, but I forgot, and I didn't block him. And then when he called back 2 weeks later, I answered the phone because I needed a client. So I thought it was the client, a potential client trying to hire me as an attorney. And so I answered the phone. It was him, and he had set up this big conference room across town. And I went over there, and he had all these books and all this stuff out on this conference room table, and had somebody zooming in, from Denver on the big screen. And I, the whole time, that's not where my mind was. I wasn't even thinking about this, but I felt really guilty that he was in town. He had spent all this time. He had arranged for this other guy, Steve Snook, to zoom in from Denver. And so I sat there and listened. I was polite, and after it was over, I told him I'd think about it, and I left. And then he told me he was going to be back, in a couple of weeks. And so a couple of weeks later, he called me, and I thought, yep, come up to my office. I want to meet with you, because I was going to break up with him, right? I was going to be like, dude, I have no intention of doing this. And so he showed up. I tried to break up with him. Told him, listen, I've never been a top producer. I'm completely broke. I have no money to purchase a franchise. I have I can't go rent an office. Nobody's going to rent me an office. I was telling him all these things. I just laid it all out there. And he didn't seem phased about it at all. And he was like, you know what? We believe in you and we think that you have what it takes. And so when he said that, I stayed open about it, to be honest, because all the reasons I wasn't going to do it was, things that I was playing over in my head. I'm not good enough. I'm not who you're looking for. Like, I think you
Yeah,
think I'm
that's
a salesperson. I have no money. I can't and I had all these objections that I was, and these restrictions and these limited beliefs that I was telling myself. And,
right.
after that, I just, things started falling into place. I, uh, I was talking to a friend of mine who was a young guy in his 20s, and he owned a moving company. And I was like, how in the heck do you have this money to buy these trucks? And he was like, you can get a small business loan. And I was like, well, I won't be able to qualify for that. Like, I just quit my law firm job. I'm starting a new law firm. My income is zero. And, he was like, no, you don't need income. Like, that's not based on that. It's based on the business plan. And like, this is just, it's the Small Business Administration part of the government. And they're help launching, entrepreneurs. And so he gave me their contact and I reached out, and they were very like laissez-faire about everything. Just, yeah, yeah. Okay. Just, we'll send you over this 1-page form, fill it out, send it back. And I would, and I didn't hear back for, weeks and weeks and weeks. And then I would call and they would be like, I'd be like, I'm just checking, like, did I get approved? And they're like, yeah, yeah, we're closing in November. And I was like, well, this is weird. Like, nothing's really happening. Like, it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. But in the meantime, I was going about the law firm stuff, and I happened to be at one of my friends who owns a real estate school, and I was there talking as an attorney, letting the students ask me questions as an attorney. And he was like, hey, there's a space that's over here, and the landlord's awesome. You need to go over there and check it out. And he didn't know that I was looking to open up Remax.
Right.
He was telling me for the law firm. And so I went over there, looked in the window, and I thought, well, this is like really cool. It's very open setup, and that's kind of like what I wanted. And I called the landlord, and I was like, the landlord owned a real estate company. I was like, listen, you're probably not going to want to rent to me because I'm going to be a competing real estate company in your same building, in your same strip center. And she was like, we would love to have that. That'd be amazing. And which I was kind of shocked that was the answer. And then I was like, and I'm opening up a new business. I don't know if it's going to survive. I can't sign more than a 1-year lease. And she, it was like a no problem thing. And then, how much can you afford to pay? And I told her, and she was like, okay, let's try it. And so that she was the best landlord ever and super supportive. And but we're still in that building today. That's where my first office was, and I still have one of my offices there. And then, that was January 1st, 2015, and I opened and had, really had no money. So we had a card table I bought at Target, and a $19 card table that I bought at Target. We still have that too. And a $17 chair I'd bought at Walmart. We might have thrown that away, but I suspect we still have it. That was the front desk, and hired my first employee, and had no agents, super nervous, flew out to Denver to go to Broker 101. The entire time I was out there, I was planning bankruptcy. I just signed a lease. I had no agents. I just hired somebody. I just spent $30-something that I didn't have on a table and a chair. And I was thinking, I was an attorney, so I know the bankruptcy code. And I was like, I can exempt out my house. I can exempt out my car. I was thinking about all the things that I wouldn't have to give back. And but I came back and I started doing the things that I needed to do to work, to attract agents, and made a bunch of phone calls, had a bunch of meetings, was told no a lot, and
Right.
and then At the end of 2015, I think we had 17 agents, and you know, that wasn't that long ago, and now we have over 200, and and then all the other companies as well. But January 1st, I started with nothing, planning bankruptcy, and I couldn't pay myself a salary until June of 2017. So 2.5 years. Lived off credit cards, went into massive, massive debt. Um, my wife was pregnant when I started Remax, and it that didn't for some reason that didn't dawn on me that wasn't a great idea to start a new business and go into
Right.
massive debt. But it took a you know it's 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 taken a lot of work, and to get to all those accolades, to get where we now own, like, multiple companies. But most people don't see that journey. So I do appreciate you asking. It was tough, and it was touch and go a lot. I mean, just real honest,
Is
but
it does it have
made
a
it work.
lot to do with giving something to get done to a busy person? Is that something like that, or is it just you just didn't give a shit? Just said I want to do this and I'm going to do it. Is that it, or tell me?
No, I didn't. Um, I wasn't on the right life path, right? Like, I
Right.
just didn't feel like, um, when my time was up on the earth, that, like, I was going to have lived my life as an attorney for 30 or 40 years, or whatever,
Right.
however long I was going to work as an attorney. I just didn't feel like that's what it was. And I just felt like this was what I needed the path that I was supposed to be on. And honestly, like, objectively, I have no idea why I just, um, w- made horrible decisions, right? Like, thinking back, I mean, going into debt, like, not having income, like, starting a new business. My wife, I like, those are all, like, but I just felt like that's what my calling was. Like, that was what was leading me to do it. And I felt like I had something to offer agents that would come work for me. Um, I care about people. I'm a relationship person.
Right.
That's severely lacking in a lot of business and a lot of industries. They're transaction based. You're just another number at places. I'd had my license since the early 2000s, my real estate license. So I'd been at a couple of companies, and I just experienced how real estate companies treat people, and uh, and I knew it wasn't right. So I took those lessons, and I knew what kind of company I was going to start, which is the company that I did start. And I it wasn't a, like, screw this, I'm going to do it anyway. It was a calling and a passion.
So you talked about you mentioned one phrase earlier, limiting beliefs, and it seems that every time you had a limiting belief, you broke through it. Was there something you told yourself to do that? Was it I don't know, was it that you said, "Okay, well, you know, okay, so I don't think I can do it. Let me just do it anyway." Is that what it was?
You know, when I was doing all this, and still to this day, I was signing up for conferences and listening to TED Talks, and reading books, and a lot of when you're into into those kind of podcasts and TED Talks and books and seminars, a lot of people talk about limiting beliefs and how to overcome them. And I one lady that had a really big impact on me was Mel Robbins, and
Right.
she talked about how, she talks about everything that you want in life is on the other side of your fear, right?
Yeah.
And she um, she her and her husband had a successful background. They owned some restaurants. Those restaurants were failing. She was kind of so paralyzed from her, just the stress of all of, just of being stuck in whatever situation that was, that she didn't want to get out of bed ever. And so she needed to snap herself out of it. And, she um, was watching a rocket launch, and
Right.
and they were counting down,
Right.
and then the rocket just went, you know shot into the air, and she told herself, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to count down, and when I get down to 1, I'm going to launch myself out of bed. And that was like the first moment that she realized that, like, I can overcome, like, my fears of all of these things. I can, like, I don't have to let this situation control me. I don't have to be in debt. We don't have to be owned by these restaurants. Like, we can take action. We can overcome, like, the fear, and get out of it. And she had, like, they did, right? Like, her and her
Right.
husband now are super successful. I hope I didn't butcher her story, but that's
No, you
roughly,
didn't.
yeah.
I mean, as you were going through it, I'm remembering the entire story because I've read the book twice and I have it on Audible, so I listened to it as well. The story is really cool, and you know what? I'm going to look at it right now and talk about me. Yep, selfish me, uh, because you know what I'm doing right now. I'm doing a lot of things, and it's like, holy shit! It's not that I don't like to do any of them. It's just that, okay, so have I taken on too much?
Mhm.
You know, is there just is there all is there listening to your story and going through, the thought process of what I think you may have gone through, and then you mentioned, you know, the 5 second rule with Mel Robbins. It just dawned on me that, you know what, it is probably, it was limiting beliefs at one point, and the imposter syndrome that we all look at and talk about and feel that we don't belong up on this stage or we don't belong here. I mean, I started doing this broadcast because I saw someone do it really poorly. And I said, I can do a much better job, even if it's just me. I remember one time I did a broadcast. I interviewed me. I went from chair to chair. And so, I swear to
Love
God, I
it.
did that. And I had people calling me up and say, Dave, you okay?
Are you having a break?
Yeah, they thought I lost it, right? But I also did these on my own, and I look at what I'm doing now. Keith, you don't know my story, but 5 years ago, I walked away from a brokerage that I had for 21 years, did some coaching and stuff, and now I've decided to start all over again with a team and do the whole thing. It's a little bit easier now because I don't have to have an office
Yeah.
or all this stuff because I'm with EXP, so it's a lot
Yeah.
easier for me to do it that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, am I out of my fucking mind? And I have to ask myself that once a week. And I say, well, what's the worst that could happen? And that's the way I have to look at it. Look, I know I'm not getting any younger. I know there's more days behind me than in front of me, but shit, if I'm going to sit around and do nothing, it looks like you were just like saying, and you talk about calling, right? For me, it's I want to work with people that want to work because there's so many
Mhm.
people out there that really want to succeed in real estate, and they don't have the right mentor, the coach, the training. I mean, you and I are extremely lucky because we've been involved with a guy by the name of John
Mhm.
Cheplack, right? And
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
kind of one of our common things here. And I mean, this guy has been nothing but consistent, and I see that completely in you with pure consistency from when you decided you were going to do something, and it seems like it's the same thing, all about helping people. Am I right with that assumption?
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. John has been like ever since I've known him, he's been very consistent with, like, his messaging about things. And I first heard him talk in August of 2019, and things that he was saying on stage uh, aligned with, like, how I work and how I do business and how I treat people. And the messaging was consistent with the messaging of my, these other books and, podcasts and TED Talks and, seminars I'd been to. And I was like, I really like this guy. And then, the universe kind of drew me and John together.
Yep.
So I saw him in August, and then he was speaking on stage. Didn't get a chance to talk to him, obviously, because he was on a big stage. And then that night, I was, like, down in like, looking in the restaurant menu to see, like, what I was going to eat. I was by myself and decided I wasn't going to eat anything. And then I went and got in the elevator to go up to my room, and the elevator opens, and John's standing there, and he knew my name, and uh, I think from a Facebook group that he had been added to by the CEO of Remax. And he told me hi, and he was like, "Hey, you need to come to my. I have a mastermind next month. You need to come to it." And I don't remember how much it was. I'm going to say $2,500 or maybe 2,000. It was more money than I'd ever spent on a conference in my entire life. And but I spent the money and signed up for it that night because he had texted me the link to sign up, and so I felt a little bit of pressure to do it. But so I saw him in August, and saw him again in September, and then I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, for a conference in October, and he was the keynote speaker at that. Then I was in Maui in November at another conference, and he was the speaker at that. So from August to November, I saw this guy 4 times, and I was just like, okay, the universe is drawing us together. He had another mastermind in January in Nashville, January 2020. Went to it. On the flight home, I texted him and I said, "Okay, I need to start coaching with you. It's time." And I've been coaching with him ever since. And now I'm actually a coach. I'm one of his elite coaches. So
right. And my quick story of John is that I think in 08, 09. Goes back a long time. I really needed help recruiting, and I was looking for that. I was looking for a magic bullet. I was looking for a magic, whatever you call it, right? And John had this. I don't know if he still has. I'm sure he does. The Real Recruiter, right?
He does, yeah.
Right, the Real Recruiter. So I think it was brand new, and he says, "Look, I'm going to let you get into it. Give me like a couple of bucks. And, if you like it in another year, pay me the rest of it." Right. Which never happened. Don't tell him that. So, but I was on he had a Monday noon webinar every Monday. And if I was with them for 8, 9, 10 years, I missed maybe 3 or 4 a year. And when I use the word consistency, his message has always been the same, Keith. It's always been the same. And, there's that feeling of discipline and that feeling of regret. Well, I have more feeling of regret because I really didn't do everything I learned from John. And now I am.
Well, listen, if we all did those things, we would be on a yacht somewhere and retired. But
that's true. See, I look at it as learning. Right. And I want to have this out to any viewers, anybody that's going to look at this now, and we'll see it later, is that, you use the phrase limiting beliefs. And, we can really get into all your businesses, but that's not really the point of our value today, I believe, is where we're going with helping people get through things that they want to get done. I mean, look at new agents, right? Yeah. So new agents, they're really not really helped too much to get started. But what's happened over the past number of years, I believe since 2012 on up, is the advent of some really, really great teams that have been able to build really, really great systems and decided that they're going to work the business as a business. Because my brokerage was a typical brokerage, I'm sure yours isn't, but you got a couple of top producers, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, 6 other ones, and then everybody else takes up space and does, one here and there. And they're the ones that demand all your time, or your money, or your effort. And I let it happen, right? And now it's like, I'm not letting that happen. I've got 2 people that are working their tails off, and they're brand new. And in weeks, they've got business. So it's working we work a simple framework. And, I work with another great guy by the name of Grant Wise, who you and I know, right?
Great guy.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, there's a whole thing about action takers. There's a whole thing about that. Talk to me about, you talked about the thing with Mel Robbins was about.
So let me talk about limiting beliefs just real quick. Cause I think that holds a lot of real estate agents up, and people think, I'm putting too much on my plate. I'm so busy. I can't possibly do anything else. And then, and then they meet, and then there's people like me. And, some people, like, their entire life, all like what they do for their life is they own a mortgage company, right? Some people, what they do for their life is they own one one real estate brokerage. Some um, some like they own an insurance agency, and that's what they do with their, like, for their life, right? Like, that's what keeps them so busy. They couldn't
Right.
possibly do anything else. They own an insurance
Right.
agency, right? Somebody, they just run the real estate school, and that's all they do, and that keeps them so busy. Like, how am I able to have all of those successful businesses simultaneously at the same time, right? It the I'm not anything special. I didn't have any more money than any of these people to start out. I didn't. I'm not, particularly charismatic or smart. But the difference is, like, what I'm allowing to go on between my ears, right? And people, if you tell yourself that you don't have time, then you don't, and you don't make it. You, like, if you think about it and you become overwhelmed, you need to go take a nap,
Yeah.
as opposed
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
doing it and taking action. I mean, look at, like, even at an extreme level, look at Elon Musk. Okay, the CEO of General Motors, the CEO of Ford, that is all they do with their life, is they're the CEO of that company, right? Elon Musk is the CEO of Tesla, but he's also the CEO of the third largest social media network in the world. And he's also the CEO of Starlink. He's also the CEO of the Boring Company. He's also the CEO, like, like he the SpaceX. Like, some people, all they do with their life is they run NASA. But, like,
Right.
just one of the things that Elon does, right? And I hate to sing Elon's praises because I'm not a particular fan of him, but it doesn't mean that I'm not impressed by him
Right.
and just in awe. But I mean, look, you have just as much time in a day as Elon Musk, right? You have just
Yeah.
as much time in a day
Right.
to
That's right.
launch people into outer space, to run one of the largest social media companies in the world, to run a huge, wildly successful car company, which, by the way, revolutionized. They put made electric cars be a common thing on the road that it
Right.
wasn't before him. Like,
Right.
just it was. It's not just he's not just, like, owning a company. Like, he's doing it with excellence. You know, so you got to control. Like, he's not. I can promise you, between his ears, he's not telling himself. He's not allowing that to go through his brain. That, like, I'm just so busy. Maybe I have too much on my plate. Right?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question about that. Oh, absolutely. Right. So when someone starts doing a lot of things and they don't have the resources to build and hire support, is there is there a trick? Is there a switch? Is there something that they need to focus on to be able to get everything done that they want to?
You know what? There's a smart way to leverage yourself, right? Um, it um, through let's say that you work at a brokerage, and um, you you can't afford to hire a personal assistant. Like, you can't
Right.
afford to have somebody dedicated to you.
Right.
But maybe five or six agents in the office pool together and they hire one, and you then only have them, you're only responsible for a few hours of their time a week. Maybe there's a transaction coordinator in the office, and instead of you having somebody dedicated, you use, there's shared, you can use shared resources, is my point. Um, there's virtual assistants that are, vastly less expensive than in-person help. Then there are things that you can do. You can barter with people. So um, when, as we grew and added agents in our brokerage, I we needed more brokers to supervise all those agents, right?
Right.
And so we I would go find a good broker and I'd be like, hey, if you come over here, I will exchange like how much you typically pay into a brokerage in exchange for your willingness to answer the phone when an agent calls and needs help, or your willingness to sign off on contracts. I didn't have money to pay them, so like I just bartered with them of
Right.
like, you know, I'll, you know, I'll give you a place and I'll forego like, charging you certain fees or splits, and in exchange, like you're going to do a little bit of work. There's, you can do that with all kinds of stuff, and
Right.
so I mean, if you're a team leader, you can get staff by doing that. Get somebody on your team, and they have an alternate plan of what they're paying into the team in exchange for some work that they might be doing for the team. So
So in other words, there's more
do
than
that
one
until you can afford to pay somebody, full time. And of course, we've graduated to since then, but have a little bit of hybrid system with it now. But that, I mean, I thought it was important to have lots of support for agents. There's some brokerages in Arkansas. They only have, 1 to 2 brokers for the whole state, like maybe 3. We have 6 just for our brokerage, like 6 brokers that are dedicated to helping agents. I just wanted there to be over the top support. I was able to do that without having just a crazy amount of money to be able to pay a bunch of people.
So basically, what we're talking about is really very similar to what I look at for me is making sure that people are supported, making sure they have what they need, and maybe sometimes even more than what they need, right?
Yep.
And that's the way I look at it too. Because yeah, how many brokerage offices do you have?
4.
You have 4, and you have 6 brokers.
Yep.
That's it right there. You've got people ready, willing, and able to help out. I mean, in my situation, it's a little different because I'm not really the broker anymore. I'm a team leader, mentor, and I had an agent come up with a problem yesterday, and it's like I almost stepped in to help, and I really can't. So, but I told them what to do and how to do it and who to handle it. So I'm good that way. So it's a little bit different place.
But also, I think people other than leverage, they need to systematize, right?
Right.
Can guarantee you that a lot of what is eating up time that people think that they don't have enough of is inefficiency. And there's just little things that you can do to be more efficient with your time. I don't check. I mean, just little things that I've just learned through books, through from Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week. He talked about batching your mail, like send your mail to a PO box, only go check it every 2 weeks. Some people, what they do is every day they go to the mailbox, they check the mail. There's 1 or 2 pieces in there. They bring it inside, they open it, they go through it. And if it's a bill, they'll pay it. And that didn't take very long. Like walking down there, walking back, opening it, reading it, getting online to pay it. By the time you move on to something else is about 15 minutes. But then you start multiplying that out times, 300 days a year that you're doing that 15 minutes adds up to be a whole lot of stuff. I only do that, once or twice a month. So I'm like, it's a little thing that like, I'm not saving very much time, but it adds up. It compounds on itself. The compound effect is a real thing. If you add up all those inefficiencies, how often you're checking emails, how often you're checking text messages, how often you're checking your physical mail. I mean, text messages will eat you up. If you don't have certain times of the day that you check your text messages, you will be on your phone all the time, just the act of like just picking up the phone to see if you have one and setting it back down is time wasted, right? If you have a certain time a day, maybe it's every 2 hours that you pick up your phone. I've gotten 10 text messages, respond, put your phone down. Like there's ways you can be more efficient about things. My phone I don't have the ringer on my phone ever. It doesn't vibrate. If somebody calls, I have no idea that they're calling me. I will see that they get a text back that says that I'm not able to answer the phone. They can text me if they need a faster response, or I'll try to call them back later. And then at the end of the day, at about 6 o'clock at night, is when I make those calls back of people that didn't text with something urgent. Like I can't be on the phone all day. I mean, literally with as many people who would call me, I would be on the phone for 10 hours straight, right?
So
Can't do
you,
that.
so
Inefficient.
so you believe that everything can be batched in certain days, times, whatever.
Yeah, time blocking, like everything that you're doing, like is going to be done within this time frame. And if you're in that time frame, you don't step outside of it. If you're not in the time frame where it's time to check emails and texts and whatever, you don't do that. Um, So, and you can schedule throughout your day. You can schedule for client emergencies, like at, whatever, at when I wake up in the morning at 9, I'm going to see if there was any client emergencies that happened since 7 p.m. last night. I'll check in real quick at 11 to see if there's any client emergencies, and I'll check in again at 3. However you're going to schedule that in the day. Because if you're panicked, like, what if something happens? Like, and my clients need me. That there's probably not like an immediate emergency that I mean, if there was a real emergency, you're not the person they need to call. They need to call like the police or the fire department or an ambulance.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
I've always
like
said that.
this is, we're selling houses. This isn't life or death. I
Right.
can, I know that like if you're at closing day and something blows up on closing day, maybe that is a day that you schedule in more kinds of, this is when I'm going to check. I know I have a closing at 1. So at 9, at 10, at 12, I'm going to make sure that, nothing's happening with that closing. Right.
So I've always said that no one's ever died from a real estate transaction. So it's not a matter of life or death. And I say to agents, I said, look, turn your phone off. But for me, everybody that works for me knows that Monday to Thursday, 8 to 8.
Yep.
Fridays is 8 to 5, and weekends, if you text me or email me and I look at it, I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how I set that up. But
Listen, if somebody misses a closing date, like it doesn't close today, okay, it can close tomorrow. Well, that's going to be super inconvenient. Yes, but 3 months from now, they're not going to. It's going to be so minuscule in their life. Nobody's going to really. I get it. Like they had their hopes up of closing today. Closings get delayed. It happens. Like it will be okay. Well, the seller's going to have to pay more interest. Okay, how much is that? $15. Oh, God, I really hate that. I mean, it's like that's not like $15, $20. That's not life and death stuff, guys. Like, let's calm down. Let's think clearly. If there is a problem, let's not rush to close it real quick. Let's solve that problem for everybody. Let's make sure that it's done right. Then we can close it, right?
So what's the process in starting with blocking and starting with actually, partitioning your day off? Is there a way to start, or just to make a block for one thing and don't do anything else?
Yeah. So I, in my calendar, I have things blocked off. Then that's what I do during those times, right? Like, and this is people do this, right? Like I'm on a Zoom, I'm on this interview with you. I've obviously got that blocked off. If somebody's calling and texting me, I'm not over here answering the phone. But people then don't carry that through the rest of their life. They'll be doing something else and then they don't prioritize it. It's not as important to them. So they allow interruptions to happen. And they end the day, they've really done nothing. When somebody calls you or texts you or emails you, they have marked a checkbox off on their to-do list. I need to reach out to Keith today. Okay, I sent him an email. I'm done. And they've dumped something on my plate for me to do, right? So I don't need to spend my day like helping other people check off, their to-do list. Like I have my own to-do list of things that I need to get done for our agents. I have my own to-do list of things that I need to get done for the company to help people grow. Like I can't let my day be ruled by the to-do lists of everyone else. Because at the end of the day, I will have accomplished nothing and feel overwhelmed and defeated. And still stressed because there was stuff I needed to do that I didn't do, and I feel habitually behind and nothing's ever getting done. That wears on you. And then you don't want to get out of bed the next day. And then you feel like maybe I have too much on my plate. I for sure can't take this new opportunity or start this new business because I don't know where I'd find the time. You have the time. You're just using it incorrectly.
I mean, this is helpful for me, helpful for a lot of people I work with,
We're
because
good.
yeah, we're real good. I mean, it's like, Don't let your day be ruled by the to-do list of others. I think if there's anything that's going to come out of this broadcast and discussion, it's that. It's that.
I
And to
mean,
read the 5-second rule.
listen. Yeah, I'm shameless plug for the 5 second rule because I'm in it. But uh, I mean, none of these things that I'm talking about are complex. Like they're very basic, simple things. And when you hear it, you're like, why aren't I doing that? Like,
Well, that was one of the things that when I was working with Grant and trying to get you to be on the broadcast, and one of the things that you had said, I don't know if you said or somebody else told me about you, is you really don't look at email. Everything's on your phone. I mean, if you can't do it on your phone, you're not doing it. So I take it you don't have email on your phone either.
Yeah, I mean, I have staff that read my email now, and they tell me I get 2,000 emails a day. They flag 3 of them. They're like, these are important. You need to go in there and look at it. I log in 3 and respond. I'm done with email for the day. A lot of business owners might spend 4 to 6 hours responding to emails. I mean, if something's important, I tell everybody, if something's important, text me. If you send me an email that's important that I need to look at immediately, text me and tell me that it's there. Because I have it scheduled where I check my text messages every so often, right? Because I might have agents that have a crisis or loan originators that have a crisis. I do want to help those people, and it's not that I'm not going to do my job duties. I'm just going to schedule in when I'm performing those job duties, right? I'm going to schedule in when I'm helping put out fires, when I am doing these things, and you have to do that by controlling your access. Because if your access isn't controlled, and when what you're prioritizing for other people, they will eat up your day. I love it that Apple, in their latest update, they allow you to, after you read a text message, to mark it as unread if you need to, so that you can go back to it. Because maybe you read a text message and you don't need to do it now. Like, listen, this is a text message. Somebody's asking me to do something, but it's not emergency. I can do this tomorrow at 9 a.m., right? I can mark it as unread, or I can mark it as a remind me for tomorrow at 9 a.m., and then I'll do it.
Right. That's what I need that too. Hey, Keith, we're coming up on the hour. I got a couple questions real quick for you. This has been one of the most informative and helpful for me and people I work with that I can help more now, because let's face it, time blocking is one thing that I preach, and I teach, and I coach. And I know it's not easy to do for a lot of people, including me. And I learned a lot. So if there was one thing that you could tell a new agent or stuck agent to do to get unstuck and to get more productive, what would that be?
2 things, real quick. People fail in this business because they treat it as a transactional business. They will go and show properties to buyers, and they develop a kinship with them, and you're going to be my new best friend, and we're going to go out to dinner, and we're going to have a cookout, and then it closes, and then the agent never talks to them again, right? This is a relationship business. Like, you need to stay in contact with them. You need to stay in contact with your friends and your family and people in your network, your doctor's offices, your dentist's office. Like, let them know what you do, that you're an expert, that you're here to help them, that you're not trying to make a buck off them just so that you can move on to the next person. And that's gonna make you successful in the long run, because people want a partner to help them buy houses, and you want a relationship with that partner. It's not transactional based, right? And the second thing is if you're struggling and you're in some sort of funk, you need to take action. If you have a physical office location to go to, and your alternative is, if you fail out of this business, get an 8 to 5 job, go to that physical office location for 8 to 5 and just sit there, because you're going to eventually go through the motions. You'll eventually do something. Action will produce action. And if you don't have an office to, go to a Starbucks, go somewhere else, get out of your house. You got to go somewhere where
that's exactly what I do.
When I wanted to focus on growing the mortgage company, I had to get out of my house. I wanted to grow it in a particular, we're in 4 different cities. I wanted to grow the mortgage company in a particular city. I went to that city and I went to a restaurant, and it was a pizza place. And I sat in that city in the middle of that restaurant for 4 hours working on my laptop, making a list of people that I wanted to call. And it resulted in a loan originator coming, right? Like just me going there, taking action, working at a other place, got my mind where I needed it to be for me to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. Had I sat at home, it just wasn't going to happen.
So I want to thank you so much for the time you spent with me. And I know your time is busy, and I'm not saying that to say it. Your time is valuable, and I appreciate your time so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the last question I have for you, Keith, for today is, how can I help you grow your business?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that you've helped me here by just introducing me to this weekly podcast that you do that I can follow, because it looks like you've had some great guests in the past. I need to go back and see what they had to say. A lot of them are my friends.
Yeah, they are. What's the best way for people to contact you?
For what?
For anything, if they want to talk to you or contact you.
Yeah, if they want to contact me, they can send me an email. My staff will alert me of it. It's Keith Pike, KeithPike at remax.net. They can also reach out to me on social media. I think my social media tag's up here, my Instagram one. They can slide into my DMs. If they're interested in coaching, then I can send them the coaching link through Cheplack's organization and do a consulting call with them to tell them like what that's involved.
Yep. Okay. So we have your email address there. Keith, thank you so much. One last thing. I know when everybody starts thinking about coming on my broadcast, they want to know, do they get the hat?
Oh yeah. Listen, I love that hat. I almost wore a hat on this, but I didn't. I wear a black hat all the time that a guy named Joe Brickman gave me down. I mean, I wear it all the time. So. Well,
I'm going to be sending this out to you. Keith, just stay on for a second as we go out. Be right back next week, everybody. We've got Jason Daniels coming on, who is the CEO of Finch & Gable out in Colorado Springs, who's also a good friend of mine. He's going to talk about building his brokerage, what he did. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Keith, just stay on 1 second, as I said, and we'll see everybody next week.